Okay, for part 3 of this video set, we're going to look at the quadratic formula. First, we're going to derive it by completing this square. Number 13, a squared plus bx plus c equals 0. First step is we're going to divide both sides by a, and that leaves us with x squared plus b over a times x plus c over a equals 0. Next step would be to leave the x squared plus b over ax on the left and subtract that c over a on both sides. So now we have the blank we need to fill in to complete our square. I've done some work over here to the left. We have a half times b over a, or b over a over 2 would be the same, all squared. So that leaves us with b over 2a squared, which equals b squared over 4a squared. So we're going to add that to both sides. We need to have a common denominator on that right hand side, so I'm going to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 4a. So now on the left I can complete my square. I have x plus b over a, or x squared plus b over a times x. Oops, I want to write it as my completing the square. I don't want to rewrite that right now. So x plus the b over 2a is what I want, all squared. And I can do this right hand side simultaneously instead of writing that all out again, and save some room. So we have b squared minus 4ac all divided by 4a squared. So this might look familiar now. We're going to take square root of both sides. So then we end up with x plus b over 2a equals plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all divided by 4a squared. And we're going to subtract this b over 2a from both sides. So I'm going to write that in here. Minus b over 2a minus b over 2a. So now we can simplify everything, and we end up with x equals the minus b over 2a plus or minus, now the square root of this big thing here, b squared minus 4ac, that needs to stay in the numerator, but the denominator, I can take the square root of that 4a squared, and I end up with 2a. So now when I just add my like fractions, I end up with minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac, all in the numerator, all divided by, that fraction bar goes under everything, 2a. A lot of people drop off the line from under the minus b. So that is the quadratic formula. I don't know if you've ever seen that derived out, but it's very useful So now we're going to do couple of problems with it. I think there's just 2 there. If you have used this before, you might want to go ahead and just try it on your own. Okay, so number 14 is 2m squared minus 22 equals negative 2m. So the first thing you could do is you could just factor out a 2 from here and divide from both sides by it. But I'm going to start by setting it equal to 0. So I have 2m squared plus 2m minus 22 equals 0. And then I'm going to divide both entire sides by the 2 that I would factor out. 2 divides into everything here. So I end up with m squared plus m minus 11 equals 0. Then my a is 1. Write that off to the side. A equals 1, b equals 1, c equals negative 11. Then I'm going to write down my quadratic formula. X equals, so this is only really when we set it equal to 0. So it's usually x-intercepts, but in this case it could be something else because it wasn't originally set equal to 0. So we have x equals minus b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a. So hopefully you'll remember that, memorize that, put it on your note card for quizzes, but by test time you should have it down. So then we're going to just plug in the values. Minus 1 plus or minus square root of 1 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 11 all divided by 2 times 1. And then we're going to simplify that down. We get minus 1. Okay, so we have the minus 1 plus or minus square root of 1 squared is 1. And then here's where some people get a little mixed up. We have minus 4 times 1 times negative 11. So it's really like minus negative 44 under there, and we would put 2 negatives make a positive, so we make those pluses all divided by 2. And then we're going to simplify that. X equals negative 1 plus or minus square root of 45 all divided by 2. 45 can be broken down to 9 times 5, so I could write that as x equals negative 1 plus or minus 3 square root of 5, so I just took the square root of 9 out of there, all divided by 2. And I can just leave my answer like that. It's fine. So number 15 is negative 6r minus 2 equals negative 11r. So see if we can figure that one out. I don't think we can't really streamline that anymore by factoring out or dividing through by the greatest common factor of all 3 things. So just go ahead and set it equal to 0, figure out what your A, B, and C are, plug it into the formula, and crunch the numbers. And again, be careful of that minus 4AC. If you have a double negative, that messes people up. Sometimes it might be best to write it like as a plus negative in that case if you tend to have trouble with that. So what I did was plug in the negative 11 plus or minus square root of 11 squared minus 4 times minus 6 times minus 2, all divided by 2 times negative 6. So I end up with x equals negative 11 plus or minus square root of 73, all divided by negative 12. So the problem here is I have negatives there that are kind of awkward, so I can just factor out that -1 and it works out just fine. I could have actually factored that out ahead of time and just divided through by that and change the signs of everything, and then I would kind of avoid this lead negative. But I can do it right here. I'll show you how you would do that. You would just take, if I pulled out a negative here, I end up with negative times 11, and then really my plus or minus becomes minus plus, which is still plus or minus, so I can just leave it like that. That's kind of a weird thing. And then over the -12, so then you can see where my negative over negative is just a positive. So these are equivalent things, and either is just fine. So thanks for watching. Have a great day. There are some more problems on your video companion. I'll just show you here. Class problems, it says. We can add the word virtual if you want, especially for the online class. So go through and try these, and I will just make an answer sheet for these so you know what the results are. I won't have all the steps. I might do a video with some more steps if you want, but there's all the different types there. I actually could do another video, but I'll wait, do that. Maybe that might be a good practice for the quiz on this and the test on this later. But I'll at least try to get the answers typed up by the end of this week. Have a great day.